This S2000 came in from Jacksonville. The customer actually supplied his own suspension, which was the KW V3s. We installed them and put it at 1.25 inch drop. So to give you an idea what 1.25 inch looks like, that is the height. This is one of my favorite heights for these cars because it does look aggressive. You're not tucking the tire and you still have the adjustability to get the camber with the factory setup where you need it to be. So we did that, and you saw one of our valve covers that we had in the office, a nice fresh red valve cover. So that is something we did also, as well as refinish his spark plug cover. See how much better that looks. So while it was here, he said, hey, do you guys do Kraftwerk Superchargers? And my answer was, absolutely. Don't often mention it, but when you come here for a Kraftwerk kit, we do replace your plugs. Perfect time to do a new serpentine belt, because once the supercharger is installed, that belt is impossible to change without removing the supercharger kit. This looks to be the original belt.
Just say, if you know the look of a Honda belt, this is a original Honda belt.
Has it got the stitching on it too?
Yep.
Yeah, look at that. What is this? Of course, this is the fuel pump we use. GSS 342. I want to tell you this every video because this is the pump we use. One of my favorite parts about putting these pumps in the S2000. I'm trying to say. Edit that. This is one of the easiest ways to install it. This is a removal tool. You can place this right here. You're going to watch the strap on the back. Make sure we don't hit that. And there is a line here. Follow it up there. This is the strap that you don't want to cut. So we're going to hold this away from it. What I usually do is try and follow that seam all the way across there. So it's got a nice little guide. No, put the link seam there. Put there. Right there. That's easier. Put that there. Put that up here. Follow that seam. Nice, careful. So you don't hit that strap. Roll it along here. Very careful, blade. Really sharp. Don't twist up. Nice straight line. Be careful, I don't want to slip this. It's very sharp. Could cut the top. How much more room there is there. Move the glass back window. Alright, so all kidding aside, this car is getting a new soft top. It has a few little wear marks. The car is getting a soft top, so I would never cut one of these. You guys know me better than that. You know it's better than that. So this is just a good time to show you what you are looking at to remove the pump. These pins, how you get these off is they're in the car. You're going to push that in, and then the clip will release. Then when you're done, pop it back up. This panel will now come off. Again, very careful. Get a little piece that you can get a hold of. Pull it from the bottom. Slide your fingers down here. And then pull it straight down, nice and careful. And it should just release from that little clip there. Just careful not to break it. There we go. These get old over the years, so don't tug on these, don't pull them. Any of this plastic is brittle, it will break. This panel here, we have 5 clips, same thing. If you watch how I do this one, if you can get focus on this, I'll show you how to do it. I use a flat screwdriver. You're gonna push this in just till it clicks. You don't go crazy, just that much. Don't go pushing it too much. A thin blade, and it'll come right out. Don't force them, because again, these clips, they're brittle. Just enough till it clips. Thin screwdriver on the back side, it'll come out. Once that comes out, take that sucker out, and look what we have under there. El Fuel Pompo. So this is what we're getting at. This was a great time to show this because you cannot see this when the top is in, so obviously we cut the top. We're putting a new top on. But that's the panel there. You have 3 clips holding this, then you have 4 clips holding this against here. Pop this up, pop it away from here. You see one of my little clips fell out. It's probably fallen down there. We'll replace that before we put it back together. But now we have access to the fuel pump. We're going to be working through this hole if these panels are, when the top is in. This is the back side of the interior panels. These are what you see. This is the spare wheel side. This one, you're going to basically take the clips loose, lean it outwards. This is what it looks like when you remove this. This is the top cover. You take the 3 screws out, you're going to unplug that. This is what you're looking at. This is obviously a 2005 car. Actually, it's a 2004, but they all look like this with the return. One's a feed, one's a return. So what you're going to take off is these 8mm, just so you can use this as reference. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I believe there's one under there. There is 8. And then you're going to take this, which is a 10. This is the clip that holds this line right here. So that has to be removed. And these are quick release lines. You know these comes off. I'm not going to show you how to do those. But this is just a great time to see all this, because most of the time when I do these, I'm doing this by feel. I don't see all these bolts. And I'm running my fingers around here, feeling for the bolts, and you always end up leaving one in. So again, this is the orientation, how it goes back in. I've shown you this before, but one of them's pointing straight forward, one of them's pointing at 11 o'clock when you're looking at it from the back of the car, which is here. So we have the new fuel pump installed. I'm putting the screws back right now. Don't know why I'm calling them screws, they're bolts. We just tuned a car actually last week, actually a couple of weeks ago now. There's a customer brought us a car with a Signs of Speed kit on it. He bought the car with the kit on it, and it was tuned on Honda. It wasn't really making, I think it was making about 320 horsepower. Anyway, brought the car to us. Yeah, you've seen that video. If you haven't seen the video, go look for it. The title is Tuning Signs of Speed Kit versus Kraftwerk, because after we were done, I did a comparison against the Kraftwerk Supercharger. Anyway, long day of tuning. We put the car on the dyno. He changed the pulley to a high boost pulley and started tuning, started running out of fuel. Well, come to find out, a previous customer left the factory fuel pump in there, and we were running out of fuel at about 370 horsepower, which is actually pretty surprising. In the past, I've tuned these cars and run out of fuel much earlier than that. Either way, even if you're looking at doing just the supercharger and not replacing the header and exhaust, still change the fuel pump. If you're in the middle of tuning yourself or you're paying a tuner, the tuner doesn't want you changing the fuel pump halfway through dynoing the car. For one, it takes up dyno time if you're renting someone's dyno. Possible dyno getting gasoline spilled on it. But it's going to change its tune either way. Once you put the fuel pump in, it typically has a slightly higher fuel pressure. It's going to change the whole map. So he's going to have to retune it. And he isn't going to want to do that. And I'm sure he isn't going to want to do it for free. So replace the pump. Do it right the first time. Then you're never going to have to worry about your fuel problems again.
And of course, with the Kraftwerks package, we recommend the Skunk 2 Alpha header. It's narrow paired, step tube design, works really well with the supercharger. True 2.5 out. It's another reason why we suggest it.
Now I'm going to do a rather extensive unboxing of the Kraftwerk Supercharger Kit. This is the kit for the 04, 05. This is extremely detailed unboxing. I see the box are really nice. They're actually well put together. This is the kit with tuning, obviously. See the AEM V2. We typically get the kit with tuning, that way everything's all in the box. You know, a few little tiny changes that we make, but pretty much everything is in the box that we need. And it's nice that it's all individually boxed. Alright, header is in. New serpentine belt is on. Crank pulley is on. Idler pulley is on, and the 30mm belt is in place. Like we talked about before, every kit that we do is a standard 30mm kit. So that's the blower with the brackets on. We talked about before, every single one of these, we take the bolts out, Loctite them, and reinstall them just so we don't have any issues, because they are impossible to get to once it's installed. Alright, all top's coming off. As you saw earlier, I did decide to cut a big section out to do the fuel pump, but we knew the top was coming off, so I would never do that with the top. This is typically where the intake would sit. It's a 90° and it usually sits there. And this is a slimmer fan. This is our radiator and small package, so it actually is a little thinner, but typically this filter sits on the radiator fan and up against that hose. And for one, it's in a hot sauce. I don't really like it. So you've seen in our videos, it's gonna sit there. It looks better and it's cooler over here. There's not the heat coming from the radiator and the fans, so it does get a cool air source. There is a hole in there which does get some ventilation, so that's why we build those pipes different for our kits. There is the new soft top. Look how good that looks. That really does freshen up the car, because you can wax the car and make it as clean as you want, but when these kind of get gray and raggedy looking and the holes, it kind of pulls the car down. But these really freshen up the appearance of the car, and of course you get that new car smell, or at least the new top smell. So again, this is the OEM one. It's the only one we offer. We don't offer any aftermarket tops. We don't even install your aftermarket top. There you go. Plain and simple, why we don't use the aftermarket tops is they do not fit correctly. None of the holes line up. The fabric doesn't fit tight. You see how this fits perfect all the way around? There is still a little wrinkle here, but again, it's just come out of the box. So once it's sat on there and settled, they pull nice and tight. But they fit perfect. They don't have any problems here. They don't leak. They're nice and tight across here because they have wire in there, not string like the aftermarket tops. It is the best option. Alright, we are about buttoned up. Bumpers back on. We did a black intercooler. I really like the way they look. Very, very stealthy. And as you've seen past videos, we do change these pipes. This one we put over, I don't know why I say this, I feel like I've said this 100 times. You guys know about these pipes. I don't sell those pipes. I know it's probably easier for me just to make a couple of pipes and put them in a box and sell them. People tell me how easy this is. I have no interest in sitting in front of the welder welding up bits of pipe all day. That goes from my job being fantastic and awesome and loving every day and looking at my finished product to welding bits of pipes and cutting them and painting them. That's not what I want to do. We don't do that. And I don't want anybody else to have to do that. That takes the fun out of it. So here we are, the header's on. Remember I showed you clean the header. I use brake cleaner, but motor's already ran. You can kind of see it's got a nice even gold, and there's no spots or no fingerprints. And providing you don't spill anything on it, it will stay a nice gold to do a pretty good job of holding up. Valve cover, we did a new powder coated valve cover. I cleaned the bolts, put a brand new gasket set, and refinished this spark plug wire cover. Carbon plate does fit. Also want to report the Cusco bar. I don't know which version this is. You remember, I believe it was kit number 37. The Cusco bar was a little bit wider than this. This is like a carbon fiber. It almost looks like a carbon fiber wrap over aluminum. In fact, it kind of feels like that's what it is. I mean, it looks nice, but that bar does fit. So that's the second bar we found that fits. Kind of see there, we have about, best I can say, about 10 millimeters of gap. We found bars that fit. Phone's ringing. It's after hours. I'm not going to tell you what time it is, but it's late again. So I'm not going to answer that phone. And let's get this thing on the dyno and start making some power. You've seen already, I'm not going to talk too much about it, about the things that we do to make this kit special, but this kit has the LHT radiator with dual spall fans, the Skunk 2 header. We refinished the piping, a little bit different this time, and I really like this color. You can't tell quite the same in this lighting. We have the HID lights in the shop, but it has a bit more of a metallic gunmetal look. The Grams 1000cc injectors, the Skunk 2 map sensor, and like I said, this Cusco bar does fit. It is pretty close on that bracket. It looks like it has about 3/8 of an inch. So if this is a street car, we're not really going to have an issue there. If the car starts going to the drag strip and getting launched, that might start contacting that bar, which means the bar is going to have to be removed. While the car was down here, we did the Clutchmaster's FX300 clutch. He supplied his own suspension, and you saw also we did the new OEM Soft top. Now we do a lot of these OEM Soft tops. It's the only one we recommend. It's the only one we install.
Goes number 2. Sounds good, doesn't it?